Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Saturday nights are Shekhar Iyer nights, and today we begin with the saga of Raga. We've always been calling it Raga Saga. This time I thought I'll play with the words and say the saga of Raga. And Rahul Gandhi is saying that the Chinese soldiers have terrified or terrorized Indian soldiers. The opposite is perhaps true. India took 12 prisoners and then sent them back to China. I don't know what they got in return for that. To know all about that and more, let's welcome our guest of the evening, Shekhar Iyer ji. Shekhar ji, namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskar, sir. Thank you. Thank you for having me again. And good evening or good morning to all our viewers across all continents.
Shekhar yes, we are a truly global audience. Some people are waking up to a weekend, some are well into their weekend, and some perhaps are into Sunday also. And let's talk a little bit about this sudden outburst from Rahul Gandhi and concern for Indian soldiers, saying that they are being terrorized by Chinese. Where did he get this information, sir?
Well, sir, I think there is a pattern. We saw it when the Galwan Valley episode happened. Similarly, the entire opposition, not just Rahul Gandhi. Of course, Rahul Gandhi was leading them with a series of tweets based on some briefings from maybe some retired defense personnel or from journalists. I do not know, but that did not exactly do good to the Congress party, because the Congress party was seen largely, you know, somehow trying to run a parallel propaganda which the Chinese were doing it themselves. And then questions they were raised about that infamous agreement between the Congress Party and the Communist Party of China in the company of Xi Jinping and Sonia Gandhi. All those things came back, and they keep coming back. And that's why the beginning of the week that just passed by, on Monday when the Parliament opened and this thing started, uh, and on Tuesday also you saw Home Minister Amit Shah again raking up that issue and saying, look, that question was listed for the day in Parliament, and Congress created a hue and cry over this because they didn't want that question to be answered as to details about this whole money business between Rajiv Gandhi Foundation and the Chinese embassy. Sir, it's not any Chinese firm or entity or some commercial. It is, I mean, who can make some, what you call CSR kind of donations. But was from the Chinese embassy, which was quite a serious. So that apart, at this claim, you see the opposition tactics and even Rahul Gandhi tactics. One hand, you praise the army, saying they have done a great job. Our soldiers have, given back to them, etc., etc. On the other hand, you say the government has failed. This contradictory thing, brings out one thing, that somehow that the Congress party, Rahul Gandhi, and even the larger sections of the opposition need China, to corner Prime Minister Modi. Because if it is Pakistan, then what happens is any political rhetoric on Pakistan suits BJP, and as well as the Prime Minister, because that's what happened after Balakot. You see, after the Balakot strike, which was an answer to the Pathankot attack, where our Indian Air Force carried out precision target strikes of terrorist camps in Pakistan. Congress raised doubts as to whether actually such a raid had taken place, whether terrorist camps were hit, what is the proof, that kind of campaign, and that boomeranged badly the 2019 elections, because the voters thought that the Congress was raising questions, and that questions about the Balakot strike went along with Rahul Gandhi calling Prime Minister Chor in the Rafale case, even after the Supreme, the matter had gone to the Supreme Court and was listed. And finally, Supreme Court found there was no basis for, at least on the available evidence, the documents before the court, there was no. So this time, what we are seeing, the same thing is being done. Because Pakistan means it boomerangs on them, as they've learned in 2019. But China is a different, problem. Because with China, any domestic narrative, or any political rhetoric can set alarm bell ringing, across that border, because Chinese tend to read everything. If the government or the ruling party were to say something, that they would see it as increased belligerence, because this happened in 62 also, before actually that standoff in 1962, which was very humiliating for us. We saw, even the Pandit Nehru, was seen as, giving out threats and saying that, we challenge them to come, etc., etc., and that really took that Hindi Chini bye bye for a toss. And then we were in a very bad shape. We were ill equipped. Our soldiers were not prepared. And then also the terrain, lack of training, so many things went into 1962. And there is the famous Henderson report also as to what were the failures, both of the political leadership and the military leadership. But when you cut to 2022, India is not the India of 1962. And lot of preparations have gone. And if you ask me what was the wake up call was the Galwan Valley of 2020, July 2020, when the standoff saw 20 of our soldiers dying, and also massive militarization of that region. And India was not behind, because India, airlifted tanks. I mean, it lifted heavy equipment, field guns, and some of our best aircraft were deployed there. And we even made history with, landing a Hercules aircraft at that height. And also, the Americans provided a lot of support in terms of, from what I understand, a lot of intelligence gathering, satellite imagery, that kind of cooperation, and saw that India and Indian soldiers particularly, standing up to that. And China realized that such a protracted war in those high sea areas is difficult proposition even for the Chinese. So after Galwan 2022, this particular one, which has happened in, Tawang, which is also known for the Tibetan Buddhism, and China is trying to see that the successor to Dalai Lama is somebody they choose, or not somebody from the Tawang monastery. So there are reasons for, Chinese to do this, but at the same time, what we have seen this time too, that our soldiers, with that green signal given to them since the Galwan Valley, that they can give it back in full force. Of course, without the use of firearms, because the Chinese side also doesn't use firearms. This is a very funny standoff, sir, because our soldiers are not meant to, do hatapai, as they say in Hindi, physical fisticuffs or things like that. But we are seeing a situation where the Chinese side also doesn't want to engage in a kind of a standoff that could be read as, the preparation for a bigger conflict, which China also wants to avoid, because China also has huge business interests. But at the same time, there seems to be pressure tactics, because if you want to create a problem for India in India, all you have to do is you send 20 people across, and there is a problem. Then the news comes out, then the opposition attacks the government, the prime minister, and there is a hullabaloo here. Of course, in China, we do not know what has latest happened, that crackdown post reoccurrence of COVID there. So these are two different societies and two different systems, where China has an advantage of being that total dictatorial rule there, whereas here is a democracy. So you have parliament sessions, but at the same time, sir, not just this government, even the previous governments have been reticent about sharing, details, or the military preparations or strategy, as far as how do we handle China, because there is a permanent mechanism to discuss border issues, but they don't make much headway, because under Xi Jinping we have seen China getting extremely aggressive and extremely ambitious, both as a country and as well as the leadership. So we have that kind of situation. But the opposition feels China is a good stick to beat the BJP, corner the prime minister, and puncture his image as a strong leader. That is why Rahul Gandhi, as usual, took it too far and did a self goal. By saying that our soldiers were thrashed. This will not go down well with our armed forces, with their families and their supporters. They will think, what is this? Our people have did a good job, and why is Rahul Gandhi talking like this? And I do not know. And today, the Congress party, many leaders are in fact quite upset as to why did we. I mean, okay, we can demand discussions in Parliament. We can say government come out, but to say this is a complete, self goal. That is one. Number two, sir. In July 2022, also after Galwan Valley, the government held special briefing for members of Parliament, opposition leaders. Both Foreign Minister Jaishankar as well as Defense Minister Rajnath Singh had shared lot of details, which was a kind of a closed door kind of interaction between government and the opposition leaders, where maps were displayed, a lot of things were told to them for understanding. But opposition is not understanding situation because they understand the situation. What they want to score is, look, China is one thing where if we can recreate a kind of a mood of 1962 where there was huge humiliation, then BJP could perhaps lose one of its strongest planks, which is that they are the best ones for India's defense and India's security.
Thank you so much, Shekharji. I have two or three questions on what you just said, sir. Number one, in the Balakot strike, there were 12 planes that took off from India, and only four dropped Spice 2000 bombs. And the talk is that the other eight, there was something that malfunctioned, and if they had, actually functioned, then the whole place would have been decimated, thereby taking the oxygen out of the narrative that Pakistan put out. Because what they did was, the Spice 2000, what it does is it sucks out the oxygen from the buildings. The buildings are still intact. So many people died, 200, 300 people, and those people were taken, body bags went to the hospital, and that story was going on. But then Pakistan realized, well, the structures are still standing, and therefore, we can use PR to try and spin this in a different way. Do you know anything more about that, sir? Why the other eight planes went and came back and did nothing?
Sir, I'm not sure whether, as to the military details, because nothing is confirmed. And I think for the viewers of PGurus, in order to, further elaborate on this, we need some more stronger details. And as usual in such military operations, we do not get to know the details. Government only shares the limited ones. Maybe this happened, or maybe this happened to some extent, or did not happen at all. So I'm not sure about that. But what was clear was the military objective was achieved. The Pakistan for the first time realized that we could hit back. That is why, you had Air Force chief like Major, who mentioned that we had similarly suggested such kind of military operations after the Mumbai attack, 26/11. But the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh or the UPA leadership under Sonia Gandhi were not willing to take the risk to order retaliatory strikes.
Sir, it's not that. It's just that they were trying to, the whole thing was supposed to be painted as Hindu terror. You saw the Rakhi on that fellow's hand. That tells a lot of stuff. Anyway, we'll rest that thing for now. Sir, in an interview to ANI, General Naravne has said that in terms of how long can a Chinese soldier last in the heights, Galwan Heights, or any of those heights, it's 48 hours or 2 days. And Indian soldiers can stay there for 2 months before they have to be rotated in or out. So essentially, whatever they are guarding along the LAC is taking a tremendous toll on their resources, Shekharji. So, and yet these guys are always going and poking their nose in various places. Now, what has happened is when this 300 Chinese soldiers attacked the Indian post and tried to grab it, 12 were taken prisoners, and then I'm told that they were given back to China. Why, sir? They intruded into India, right? Why could India not have kept them as a bargaining chip?
No, sir, but what happens is sometimes our people also stray into their side and are caught. That is one. And number two, sometimes the shepherds, civilians like shepherds. This has happened in Arunachal Pradesh also, where some of them have crossed over, and that becomes a big issue in Arunachal Pradesh or even in Ladakh, where, again, the phones are, four lines are worked, and somehow those people come back. So there are occasions where, we are not in a state of war with China. So therefore, when these standoffs happen, or sometimes they result in this kind of situation, some room is kept for, future diplomatic thing. Otherwise, what happens is, because the idea is, I think that is what even the Chinese are careful, that nothing should set off a bigger conflagration, because neither China nor India is interested in actual big protracted war, because that is what it will be. And Chinese also know that we are not of the same make of 1962. A lot of things have happened, a lot of things have changed, and therefore they are also careful. But at the same time, there is an element of a mischief, whether it is of strategy or without strategy, or whether it got to do with the upheaval in the Communist Party of China today, whether it's got to do with what is the future of Xi Jinping, or what are the strategy of those challenging Xi Jinping in the Communist Party or in the Central Military Commission. We do not know that. But something seems to be happening. Otherwise, uh, you cannot expect this kind of incident to suddenly happen, because all the time they are testing our responses on the line of actual control. And that shows probably they are testing our how vigilant are our troops in those areas. Or at the same time, what we are told is that both sides sometimes cross into those each other areas, on the line of actual control, just to establish the fact that they have been patrolling these areas, so that during the border talks, we can say, no, our patrols have always gone there, we always thought it was our territory. The negotiation plays a role. The whole problem is we cannot publicize that our patrols do cross line of actual control, and do also do the same thing what the Chinese do. Sometimes we are challenged, sometimes we are not challenged. Like just as they are challenged, they are not challenged. So this is something which army officials, say, particularly the retired officers say, look, this happens. But India, as a country that is not seen as an aggressor and that does not wish to be, seen as an aggressor, cannot openly acknowledge, look, our troops do also do this kind of thing what the Chinese do. But I believe these things happen on the border. This is what. So the second thing, sir, which is also an important factor today. If you look at the kind of young people who are being drafted into the People Liberation Army, they are very young people. Some are 18 years old, some are 17 years old, 18, 19. So the kind of boys who are coming there, who are being posted there, they are just out of their homes and given some training, and then they are coming there because there is a change. And that was one of the reasons that was argued, that if our rivals are getting a younger force, we need to also go for a younger force. That's why this Agniveer scheme was thought of, where you have short-term younger people in uniform, who can, who can particularly face these, who are physically in a position to, withstand this kind of a challenge in these areas, which are, climatically quite very, very challenging. So I do not know whether the PLA, the men who are deployed there, they are properly trained, they are properly briefed, because there are, or it is a China way of giving confused signal, because people always say that China is always up to tricks with all its, with the wherever engagement, whether it is in the South China Sea or with Americans. So far, they are steady with Russians, because the common enemy is America. But everywhere you have a problem, because Chinese have problems with Vietnam, Chinese have problems with, of course, North Korea is another country where they don't appear to be having problems. But in South China Sea, if you look at the entire ASEAN lot, is quite worried about what the Chinese moves. So that's a problem. But sir, the message is gone, I think, post Galwan. Just as you had a similar situation, if you remember, during Subudrong Valley, there was a biggest standoff kind of situation. There was an operation chessboard where General Sundarji was army chief, and huge mobilization happened of a similar kind of thing. So China knows that a challenge too far, India's response would be, could be even disproportionate to the situation. It's quite possible, because that is not something that a repeat of 1962 is not something neither the military leadership would allow, nor would the political leadership would allow. That is a message that has gone across. But our problem is the politics part. See, if you look at the incident per se, the boys from that side came and our boys pushed them back, and there was the usual physical hatapai, as they say in Hindi, the normal thing. But but the problem is the domestic politics actually increases the temper here. And again, the same issues come, that the government is not coming clean on what's happening, it's not revealing its strategy. And and all that the opposition members want is they want some time in parliament to again hammer at Modi. Otherwise, there is nothing new for them to say. Or they are not interested in anything, nothing new from the government. I mean, I'm putting it in a very practical way.
Yes, indeed, and one wishes to know what exactly was signed in 2008, because after that, some of the policy statements that the Indian government pursued made the job of the SME industry much, much harder. I mean, you had the incidents of even things like Ganeshas being imported from in China, and that is the level to which the domestic industry suffered. And these people have the gall and cheek to say now that it's just basically spreading a web of lies. So, viewers, please do like this video. I would like to see have more people watching this one. Also, please click excuse me, on super thanks button. That's a heart shaped sign that you can see in your phone or in your video just below, like where you will do subscribe button, and you can express your appreciation by giving us donations. So thank you very much for that. And in that interview again, General Naravne said that at least in 2 or 3 places, India also went in and established that we can do the same thing too. We can get into your territory. So it has been kind of in your face. So that is also rattling them a little bit. So we'll wait and see how things play out. Shekharji, the next question is the Pappu of Pakistan, Bilawal Bhutto. He goes to UNSC, I think, or some UN forum, and calls India a terrorist nation without any proof, of course. And then there are always people who will cite this. On top of that, you had the OIC president visit POK. Pakistan is wasting its very precious money on these kinds of agendas, sir.
Absolutely, Shreyarji, at a time when in Pakistan, you know, none other than Imran Khan has been constantly referring to Modi's stewardship of India, Modi's stewardship of, relationship with the Americans, how Prime Minister Modi is, talking to Americans, how Modi is able to get his way. For instance, the Ukraine war, we are still buying crude from Russia despite the West insistence on we also fall in line and adhere to the sanctions imposed on Ukraine. You know, Imran has been even saying it in his rallies. Ever since he was deposed. I'm using the word deposed because the military was behind a lot of things that happened, and they wanted Imran out. And having put him in the PM's chair in the first place, Imran has been openly talking and saying, "Look at our military. Look at the military across the border. Look at our leadership, and look at the leadership in India." He has been talking about Prime Minister Modi, rather in praise of Prime Minister Modi. And I have seen a number of Pakistan television channels have debates on their foreign policy and their problems with the Chinese as well as with Americans, where they constantly refer to, compare with India, saying, look at the India's bargaining power. On Kashmir, they could silence the West. On a lot of other issues, Indians are able to get their way because the Indian government and the Prime Minister Modi has a strategy and is also in the forefront of several strategic alliances, which is helping them. Whereas we are caught in a situation where we are dependent on Chinese for money, and Chinese, dictate to us, and we are maybe soon becoming a debt nation, like the other neighboring countries. And this debate has been going on at such a time for Bilawal Bhutto, who is actually his party is rival to Imran Khan's party. Somewhere along, Prime Minister Modi is a subject in Pakistan today. And in that context, I'm looking at this linkages because Modi has been talked about, in Pakistan. And Bilawal Bhutto, again, is like Rahul Gandhi. The reputation there is often shoots his mouth off, and essentially, he's part of this coalition because they had to keep the Pakistan People's Party, which has a huge following in the same provinces like Sindh, happy. That's why they were also brought in. It was an army arrangement in which, after deposing Imran Khan. So maybe this is there. But we have seen today, that is on Saturday, the December the 17th, BJP has again made it a political issue and, keeping the tempers, when the Congress party is talking about the China and with that Rahul Gandhi's kind of statement, BJP today organized demonstration in which several of the senior leaders participated, making an issue out of what Bilawal has said.
Yes, indeed. And viewers, I don't know how many of you know this, but Imran Khan's wife, Bushra Bibi, has been rumored to have fled the country. And also, they are saying that Imran's chapter is over, that he'll also quietly be kicked out of the country. And after that, there's going to be no Imran. There will be reset button. And because what he was trying to do was to threaten that he will dissolve the two state assemblies that the I don't know what a PTI party is in majority, Punjab and KPK, and if he did that, that would force them to hold elections. He was trying to make some hard stance, and they are now saying that he has gone too far, and the army has coalesced under Asim Munir, and even Faiz Hamid will be kicked out, because if now Imran is kicked out, then Faiz Hamid, who was hoping that Imran will stay in Pakistan and go through some sort of a ban, and then there creates a leadership vacuum where he could walk in and occupy that because he's retired now. I think all that stuff is going to collapse. Just wait and see for the next few days what happens. We probably are the first ones to say this, so stay tuned. Next question, Sridharji, is about Udayanidhi Stalin. Do you think this guy really has the chops? Because he's just like his father. He can barely speak in English. I'm not saying that speaking in English is a requirement, but these morons, I shouldn't say that. These individuals don't even know Hindi, sir. Then how are they going to communicate with other people when they are at the center?
Sherji, that is the last of the issue in Stalin's mind, or in the mind of the first family of DMK. And there has been tremendous pressure on Stalin, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, to anoint his heir apparent. And in this case, Udayanidhi Stalin has been waiting in the wings for a long time. He was heading their youth wing, and there has been a constant pressure on the within the family, because Durga Stalin, I am told, wife of Stalin, was very particular that this is done early, given the health, the recalcitrant health of Stalin. So what I can see from now on is Stalin is going to be different from Karunanidhi. Karunanidhi hesitated in handing over the baton to Stalin because of the siblings problem. You had Azhagiri, who was then Union Minister in Delhi, and the constant battle between Azhagiri and father Karunanidhi. And Karunanidhi just made him deputy chief minister. That's all, and he never handed over charge. Until he was alive, he did not even become DMK party chief. So he was just a treasurer. Now, I think Stalin wants to break that, and I expect now he has given him a minister and made him youth affairs and sports. But then he has also been given other departments, in a sense where he may get uh, a position from where he may be able to review functioning of even other departments which are under red tape. So, and also, sir, Shriyarji, you should have watched the swearing in ceremony at Raj Bhavan. The entire family was present along with the extended family, and all the senior DMK leaders, queuing up to greet him. And before that, in the run up to that swearing in ceremony, issuing statement how this was the need of the hour, how the DMK workers were wanted it, etc., etc. But what is going to happen, sir? What people are fearing is, Udayanidhi is green on to administration and even to administrative norms or etiquettes or anything. So one could hear a lot of stories about how this is going to be done. But, sir, a point I wish to make is, we have always talked of the power centers in the DMK. Durga Stalin, then son-in-law Sabari's son, then of course the Maran brothers. Then you had, of course, Kanimuri. People like Kanimuri who are actually left out. They do not fit with the scheme of things now. And what about leaders like A Raja? With Udayanidhi entering the cabinet as a minister means, I think the A Raja will not have much of a future as to who after Stalin. So that thing is set. But we notice one thing, sir. All these regional parties, these dynastic parties, they are not at all bothered about what are the consequences of following that line, despite BJP's sustained campaigning and Prime Minister himself talking about Vanshavaad, the dynastic politics. Yes, and he spoke about it in the 2019 election also. And that is the reason, the Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi decided that they must, step aside from the post of the Congress president and put a proxy. But other parties are not at all bothered. Take, for instance, the Telangana Rashtriya Samiti, which is now Bharat Rashtriya Samiti. That the son KTR is everyone knows he's the successor, and he's managing everything as to the national ambitions of that party. Of course, his daughter Kavita, who is actually who feels rather sidelined, and we have heard stories about what she's doing. But then it's again a family business. I mean, no doubt about it. Even Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray and Aditya Thackeray, or NCP leader Sharad Pawar, his daughter Supriya Sule, all these parties, or West Bengal, Mamata and nephew Abhishek Banerjee, all these parties do not actually care about a campaign that the Prime Minister has often used, saying that Vanshavaad leads to Bhrashtachar, leads to corruption. Prime Minister has been saying this, and this is one reason, but a Congress party, gets the brunt of that kind of, barrage of criticism from the Prime Minister. But these parties are not bothered because they believe in sustainable corruption in respective areas, and that the best way they can do it is, have this formula. Because the worry is in Tamil Nadu particularly, with those tall promises made in the manifesto, with hardly a few of them being implemented, and they have already done I mean, they have already finished 1.5 years, and the second year will start very soon. But sir, the level of people disappointment in Tamil Nadu with DMK government's performance in the districts is quite astonishing. In fact, people are getting fed up, and that's a kind of situation which where we have seen, with ADMK being in the kind of state we know it is, and everybody is looking at Annamalai, the BJP leader, who seems to be kind of the de facto leader of the opposition now. But here, within the DMK, those who have worked for the party, the senior leaders, for them, in accepting a handful who are virtually doing a chamchagiri of the first family, the others are completely out. But there is absolutely no, what I should say, any response to the criticism, even in Tamil Nadu. People are saying, what is this? Finally, it has happened. They knew it would happen. But the brazen manner in which, the whole party is forced to defend and respond shows that these regional parties are even worst practitioners of this the family dynasty business.
Shekharji, last question before we change topics. Can Kanimuri do an Eknath Shinde in Tamil Nadu, or can Sabarisan do a Chandrababu Naidu in Tamil Nadu?
Sir, I will answer the second part first, because Sabarisan is a man, who always stays, behind behind the screen. So probably he may have political ambitions, but not immediately. And he is very close to Udayanidhi. The fact that, Udayanidhi, very close to Udayanidhi Stalin. The fact that Udayanidhi Stalin became chief minister, it shows that it has the full backing of the brother-in-law, Sabarisan. So therefore, that's not going to be immediate problem, because he is more concerned with the financial resources of the party, managing the financial resources of the family, seeing that how it can be developed and managed, and and investments. Those are all the charges of Sabarisan. Now, as far as Kanimuri, sir, Kanimuri does feel, that she didn't get a due, the party. Though her relations with Stalin has been stable compared to her relationship with, say, Ayagiri. With Ayagiri, it was very bad. And, the fact that Ayagiri felt that, Kanimuri's mother, who is a stepmother, had a tremendous influence on Karnataka, that led to a lot of bad blood. But one thing, sir, we know for a fact that Kanimuri has been quite friendly with central BJP ministers, particularly Home Minister Amit Shah. We know that, Amit Shah makes it a point to greet her on her birthdays. And recently, when her mother was not well, and when she went to Europe for some treatment, Amit Shah made inquiries and even wanted to offer all kind of help, if at all they needed any help in all those places. And probably our embassies were sounded. I do not know about that, to provide assistance, whatever. So one can see that, sir. Also, leaders like T.R. Balu, who is the leader of the parliamentary party in Delhi. Even Balu has made quite good rapport with some of the central ministers. And in fact, the joke in the PM's office is that why does the DMK leaders constantly seek appointment with the prime minister? They come with the same thing, and they all feel with that kind of number in parliament, they are virtually jobless in Delhi, because when the sessions they come and sit and go, because the DMK is part of the opposition. So there is a lot of, I would say, disquiet in the DMK ranks as to what should be the strategy post 2024. If the BJP have to come back to power, or if Prime Minister Modi returns as returns to power, what should be the DMK's equations with BJP? So these are left open. But definitely, leaders like all the senior leaders and Kanimuri, of course, do feel that that they are no more in the reckoning for any higher responsibility. I mean, that's quite clear.
Okay, now let's take a look at what's happening in Kolkata. Amit Shah was warmly greeted by Mamata when in his on his latest visit to Kolkata, and this blowhard relationship now, what is cooking in the kitchen, sir?
Well, Shreyaji, today's meeting between Home Minister Amit Shah and Mamata Banerjee is indeed very significant, because they were together for more than 15-20 minutes. And there is definitely a thaw in the relationship between Mamata and the Prime Minister and Home Minister. There is no doubt about it. In her visit 2 months ago, she had gone to Delhi, met the Prime Minister, had a session there. And today, West Bengal is unable to get funds from the center because it had failed to comply with some of the central stipulation regarding some of the welfare schemes, whether it is PM Awas Yojana or some of the other social welfare schemes. Bengal has been falling rather failing in complying with the requirements of getting central funding for those schemes. So Mamata was quite worried about that, and she went to Delhi, where the Prime Minister, I am told, pointed to her as to why some of the schemes are not being properly implemented. And as soon as she came back after that meeting, I'm talking about this sometime in September, October, when she came back, she called all the district magistrates to a meeting in Kolkata and told them that the central schemes must be implemented as per the guidelines from the central government, so that there is no problem with the funding, and the DM should take themselves charge, and if there are violations, they will be held responsible. This was the first major change, sir. The second thing is, the talk is that Mamata is worried about the investigations by the Enforcement Directorate and CBI into some of her close aides. After that infamous seizure of more than, you know, 50 crores in cash, and or even more, and gold, jewels, and connected with that education recruitment scam, recruitment of teachers. So after that, we have seen that entire TMC leadership, undergo a tremendous upheaval. After that, what has happened is not much headway has been made. Even Kolkata High Court pointed out that why the CBI and ED are not coming out with more results and reporting to us as to what is the progress of their investigation. That has given rise to speculation as to, is the center going slow, or is Mamata trying to work out a deal with the BJP, saying, spare me and spare my nephew Abhishek Banerjee? And also, Mamata has been keeping away from the moves for an opposition unity, or some kind of gang up of opposition leaders against Prime Minister Modi. Because of late, of course, she does criticize BJP, but she's silent on Prime Minister, which is a difference. I mean, there's a completely different approach compared to previously. At previous occasion, she used to go hammer and tongs and say all kinds of things. That I will send Rasgulla with stones inside to the Prime Minister, things like that. But she is today completely different, and you can see her smiling, even attending the PM's meetings. She attended the last meeting also. Earlier, she used to boycott even Prime Minister in West Bengal. If we were to on a visit, even for a flooded area, she would not be present. I mean, we have seen all that, but there is something cooking, and this is demoralizing BJP in Bengal, sir. This also I must find out, because I got to know from some Bengal BJP leaders. Some of them are not sure as to what is happening, because they do see that not much is happening in the investigation against Trinamool Congress leaders after those initial big ticket seizures and headline making developments. After that, nothing much has happened. And secondly, they have to keep up that the opposition against Mamata in West Bengal, particularly leaders like Subhendra Adhikari. They have to keep going at it. And Mamata, recently reached out to Subhendra Adhikari during the assembly thing, and tried to sort a meeting with him. Subhendra being very careful, because he knows Mamata very well. After all, he was in her party. he did not go alone for that meeting. He didn't want a one-on-one meeting. In fact, he took some of his other leaders because he was worried if he had to go alone and meet Mamata, what spin Mamata would give later, and that would damage BJP and him. So he was careful to take somebody along and apparently discuss some things about some assembly issues. But Suvendra Adhikari said that we should be treated as an opposition party and all that. Sir, here is a situation where when you see a smiling Amit Shah and Mamata Banerjee, on the other hand, the local BJP leaders, being told by Delhi that go on, keep your agitation on the street, day after day. I mean, one does see that a possibility that BJP could be keeping options open for a post 2024 kind of understanding, depending on whether they do need the numbers from Mamata, or probably the BJP feels they may not be able to win that kind of numbers they got in 2019 when they won 18 of the 42 Lok Sabha seats from Bengal.
So I guess BJP is practicing strategic ambiguity, and we'll have to wait and see. My hearts go out to all those Bengali BJP workers on the ground who really got bashed up on that day, May 5th, when the results came. It was really, really bad. Many of them were driven out of their homes, especially in areas where the Muslims are in a majority, and their lands were taken away. They were told you can leave your women behind, all sorts of nasty stuff. And for the BJP to now keep smiling and shaking hands, and it just doesn't have, it's very, very poor taste, sir. I think I'll rest it at that point of time. And let's take some questions now. Chaitanya Takli wants to know, does an Indian deep state exist? If so, who are part of it?
Well, I mean, if it is about deep state, like say, if you are looking for some kind of an organization, like a powerful thing behind it, I don't think in our system there is need for a deep state. Yes, there are non-state actors, but then they are more employed for India's strategic interests rather than in the neighborhood, rather than for any other purposes. Therefore, I do not think a deep state in the sense that we think a deep state should be actually operates here.
Next question, please. Magnet Ranga wants to know, Namaskaram. China is losing even the perception battle in their attempts to infiltrate. Their persistence doesn't seem to make logical sense. Your view, sir?
Yes, I mean, sir, China is upset with India on many counts. Like we kept them out of 5G. We have kept them out of some of the port expansion plans. They wanted to come in a bigger way in our infra projects, and particularly those that involve or that are close to military installations or bases. We didn't allow that. There has been an increase in scrutiny as to which are the areas the Chinese are already operating, and what should be done and what we give. But our problem is, in terms of already the trade between the two countries, and particularly the fact that a number of Indian industrial sectors are dependent on China for their spares and other allied things. It has been a difficult situation for any government. I mean, particularly this government. And in fact, after Galwan Valley, as the data shows, our imports from China have gone up, and post-COVID recovery of the economy has also meant we need more of their stuff. I mean, that's no doubt about it. And no government can immediately decide like the America did an immediate stop, because given our state of the economy and given the fact that we have come through a very, very sluggish growth, I can't see anything happening there. But definitely Chinese are not coming into many areas which they would have loved to come in. And the 5G was a big blow for them. And after that, probably this is a way of signaling to us this kind of episodes like Galwan or Tawang. Uh, the idea is that don't get close to Americans, don't play their game, and that kind of signal keeps to be there. But then India is part of that quad. India is part of a lot of strategic discussions that happen between top American and Indian military leaders. and also between the political leaders. I mean, China is, as they say, China is always the elephant in the room. I mean,
Right, right.
what cannot do without it?
Sir, there are 5 or 6 more questions, and I request you to keep your answers short, like for example, a minute or so, sir. No disrespect. I'd like to keep this program to be less than 1 hour. There's a psychological battle that people fight to decide whether they want to watch a video which is more than an hour long. That nothing else. Next question, please. Tarun Balaji wants to know: despite 50 years of Dravidian rule in Tamil Nadu, these jokers cannot even pass a geo in Tamil. Is this how business is done in every state?
Well, sir, in other states, the bureaucracy is not that efficient as in Tamil Nadu, because Tamil Nadu still has a reputation that the bureaucracy is more functional compared to other states. But then this obsession with Tamil and this obsession with uh, not to use English, but we know for a fact that, sir, in Tamil Nadu, I think what is happening is more than all these things which are meant for public consumption. The more thing is to secure deals and see where the cut money comes and things like that. I'm putting it very bluntly. They are not bothered about any other thing. And this happened in the previous situation under the previous regime, and it has gone to worse. I'm told in the present regime.
Next question, please. Kakde G wants to know, does Croatia have Moroccan refugees? Looks like Croatia won.
So the refugees from those from the Mediterranean and areas, they are there all over Europe. So one doesn't know where they are there and where they are not.
Next question, please. Cafe Domus wants to know, why are they so bothered with Agni 5? I think it's the range, Cafe Domus. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think you are right, Shri. With the kind of missile development, indigenous missile development, which is going on, in which our DRDO and as well as ISRO is involved, I think there are reasons to worry, because the indigenous capability, has grown in leaps and bounds, in the last decade or so.
Next question, please. Ask Shekhar, Namaskaram. Would the seniors in DMK agree to report a junior like Udayanidhi? What choice do they have, Magnet Ranga? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. They don't have a choice, but then, when they are asked to bend, they are willing to crawl. So you can see how I saw the day Udayanidhi went to his office. One senior minister was handing him a pen to sign the first file, and the other was, getting the chair ready. I mean, it was a ridiculous situation. And after Udayanidhi had signed, the first file, the senior minister K. Nehru, I think, he handed that pen to him, saying, "Sir, you keep this as a part of your memoir. As a memorabilia, you should keep it." The first pen, too much rather.
Magnet Ranga, you have to remember that Tamil Nadu is a state where the ministers used to do Sashtanga Namaskar to Jayalalitha right in front of huge audiences in the public stage. It became a habit after some time. She expected everybody to fall at her feet. And then Dr. Swami, who was a coalition partner, he didn't do that. And the whole lot were complaining to her, how come he's not falling at your feet? It's a joke. This psychophancy is a joke in Tamil Nadu. They don't care how we tell them, what we talk about them, how they show up. They just have their, they want to see who's running the great train and they want to be on that train. Next question from Venkat Raghavan Venkat Raman. Sir, will Modi ji compromise Congress Mukt Bharat for Parivar Mukt Congress? That is, if INC leaves the Parivar, will Modi let away INC?
Sir, Parivar cannot leave Congress. I mean, INC without Parivar is unthinkable. The Parivar will remain, because without Parivar, the Congress is not there, and without Congress, the Parivar is not there. Of course, the Parivar is just stepped aside because of the bad weather conditions, political conditions. Once, I think, if they feel the weather is good, because Rahul Gandhi detests defeats, electoral defeats, and he doesn't want to be associated with any defeat, because he feels 2014 Lok Sabha loss and 2019 Lok Sabha loss both fell on his head. So Parivar is there to stay.
Next question, please. Mr. Lee wants to know, Nitin Gadkari inaugurated a set of highway projects in Kerala last week in the presence of CM Pinarayi Vijayan. What chances are there that BJP can attract CPM CPI cadre by 2026 Kerala elections?
Well, we are already seeing a lot of unrest in the CPM, over some of the policy decisions of Pinarayi Vijayan. And Congress, of course, is playing the role of the opposition there. But given the demographic character of Kerala, sir, BJP has a tough task, and we know for a fact that Christians and Muslims constitute the majority. I mean, together they are more than the Hindus, and BJP has been attempting to win over the Christian community, particularly the influential some of the church denominations. They have been doing it. They have been trying to do it. But the problem is, sir, there is a kind of a leadership vacuum in Kerala also. And also BJP leaders, there are a lot of factional issues in Kerala. That is another thing they have to overcome. And more than that, way I see it is when the CPM, when there is a revolt against Pinarayi in the months to come, because there are a lot of things they are unhappy about, the close circle that has formed around Pinarayi Vijayan, and some of the diehard supporters of CPM are today, strongly opposed to Pinarayi Vijayan's policies. So one can see there is a churning in the Marxist Party. As to how the BJP will benefit, we'll have to wait and see.
Next question, please. Ask Shekhar. Raghavan SV wants to know DMK cadre do not really bother about position. All they want is freedom to make loot money. No one can break them. No one breaks them. What do you think BJP should do to remove them?
Well, I think the BJP is already, under Annamalai, started this awareness campaign. Many of the issues are being highlighted, relating to the difficulties faced by the people are being highlighted by the BJP, particularly Annamalai, who has been crisscrossing the state, visiting several areas. I mean, that is what is upsetting DMK because, they fairly have a controlled media. There is not a much of a problem. And also the opposition is in quite a bad shape. So when it comes to somebody who is actually speaking forth, it is Annamalai. That's why a lot of attack is on Annamalai all the time. I think the best idea is, for them to realize that they have seen the two parties, and Congress is always, riding the piggyback with the DMK, or if not DMK, they may go with ADMK. So therefore, I think as a choice, the BJP is working to fill up that space, that it is indeed the real alternative to these Dravidian parties.
And the next question from Magnet Ranga again. Yesterday, PGurus reported. Oh, sorry. There was an intermediate question. Go ahead and put it up, please. Heard that China is taking up issues as it wants to acquire water resources. How true is it?
Well, this could be one of the factors. No doubt, not just the water resources, maybe mineral resources, or either two unexplored resources in our northeast. We do not know, or even the areas that they still occupy, say Akshay and those places. But definitely, China has a long-term plan. But at the same time, I think China under Xi Jinping is filled with the Dadagiri approach, and which is earning them more enemies than friends. And also in countries whom they are helping, whether it is Nepal or Sri Lanka or even in Pakistan, even that so-called China-Pakistan economic corridor, there is a lot of resentment building up even in Pakistan, because for the sake of money, the Chinese keep pushing, and their arrogant approach, the way they deal with local officials or with the local workforce, it's creating a lot of resentment. But then China is China.
Sujata, do watch a video on PGurus channel. My conversation with General Palepu Ravi Shankar about Brahmaputra, and that is a fantastic presentation that General did, and that talks about and that answers your question. And please, if you like it, do put in a comment there so we know that you did watch it. Next question, please. Magnet Ranga wants to know, yesterday PGurus reported, as per someone in Europe, that China was almost ready to accept a border solution in 2001. Any information from you, sir? So we're going to put up the story here. Hold on a second. It's coming up. There you go. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, there have been talk of some proposals where we accept some kind of that India one solution that was talked about is if China accepts the status quo in the eastern sector, maybe we would not bother them about the western sector, we're currently under Chinese control. But then the border talks have to move forward, because somewhere along the whole problem is that Beckman line, which was drawn on a piece of paper during the British era. That is a line that was not accepted by China, and that is a genesis of the problem. But then, sir, for any move to happen, there has to be some kind of a forward movement in the diplomatic activity, because what China and India decided when they decided to improve relations was, we will move forward in other areas while we keep the talking on the border. That's how the
War and
trade
peace
open.
simultaneous.
Yes,
Simultaneous war and peace. Yeah.
so we will move forward on trade, we will move forward on cultural exchanges and things like that. But today we realize that has worked to the advantage of China, and we still have a military headache all the time. I mean, that is there. But eventually, maybe some kind of a give and take would be required. But then that would need the political leadership of, at least in India, to prepare our country, our people, our environment, to for that kind of a final deal. But then nobody is willing to trust China. The trust quotient is totally missing, because after so many meetings between Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi, you still have one Galwan, you have one Tawang. I mean, these things keep happening. So therefore, till China improves that trust quotient, I can't see a deal happening in a too soon.
Blue Wolf wants to know, in Karnataka Congress is playing downplaying Mangalore cooker blast. What is your thought? You go first, sir.
Well, Shreyarji, I think, I mean, it was indeed quite, I would say, I mean, shocking for, the Karnataka Pradesh Congress chief D.K. Shivkumar to say that this is nothing, and, was only a, but why would somebody carry all those explosive material in a pressure cooker, which is textbook case for setting off a bomb? I mean, and that's why NIA moved in. I mean, but that also shows desperation, sir, in the Karnataka Congress. See, D.K. Shivkumar is fighting a battle, with Siddaramaiah for the top slot to be projected as chief minister. Siddaramaiah, I mean, Shivkumar has spent a lot of resources for this Bharat Jodo Yatra, and he has been trying to warm up to Rahul Gandhi, who seems to be rather favoring Siddaramaiah. And Siddaramaiah is known for that formula, Ainda, where, like Kam in Gujarat, Adivasis, minorities, backward class, that kind of a social political alliance. And Siddaramaiah always projects himself, he is anti-Hindutva, if not anti-Hindu, and more, secular or that pro-minority. So I think Shiv Kumar is trying to fill that quotient which is missing in him, and making this kind of statements. But sir, in northern Karnataka, in coastal Karnataka, I think the situation is such. DK Shivkumar would be only doing self goal if he were to make this kind of statements. When NIA investigation is revealing a lot of new things as to the pattern in this kind of activities, and also linkages in Coimbatore, in Tamil Nadu, in Telangana. I mean, these are serious matters. I think for the sake of Karnataka Assembly elections, Congress leaders should not be making such utterly irresponsible statements.
Sir, the last question I'd like to take here. Ramkrishna, sorry, we will do it later. Let's take this last question from Neta Mafia. Can you put it up, please? With Annamalai being the single leader BJP is depending on in Tamil Nadu, and with the kind of dangerous people who is opposing from Dravidians, missionaries, and jihadis, these dangerous elements like Dravidians, missionaries, and jihadis opposing him, shouldn't BJP provide more security to Annamalai when he's the main leader BJP is banking on in Tamil Nadu? I think he's being given good security, I
Well,
think.
and the Union Home Ministry and the Intelligence Bureau, they constantly review the threat perceptions
Yeah.
and act
Yes,
accordingly.
yes. Thank you so much, Shekhar ji, and we'll be back again next week. And please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notification. And I believe that sign says first a dollar sign, and then it becomes a heart sign. Anyway, this is called super thanks. That's a sign that's a button that's to the right of subscribe button. It's one of those buttons. Okay, I don't know the exact sequence. Please do consider donating to us. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.